Sami.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time leading up to this, but this guy has spent the least amount of time on this planet compared to the rest of these contestants. Sami Layadi, he is the youngest contestant at this season, only 19 years old, from Las Vegas, and with the most eye-popping title for occupation this season, the Pet Cremator.
Pet Cremator. Did we do this last season was there somebody on Survivor 42 that was born after Survivor came on the air? Has that threshold already been crossed?
I want to say maybe that was the case with Swathi, because I think Swathi was 19
Okay,
as well.
yes. Okay.
So yeah, there we're slowly building out that lesser generation. But yeah, Sami outright explicitly says he is a year younger than the show. And when Owen was just talking about watching Colby on his TV, Sami was like, "Goo goo gaga, who is Colby?"
Yeah. Okay. Not even probably.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. Maybe born over the course of Beef Jerky Gate. Perhaps that's when Sami came into this world.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to set up with Sami?
Yeah, so Sami obviously in a very unique position, though I think he vocalizes it in a really interesting way to see how it surprisingly can pertain to the game. One thing to know about Sami, he is confident in himself, and he will express that as such, though I think there's a little bit more than meets the eye.
Okay. I am looking forward to hearing from Sami because this is somebody that I do not have a good feel of what they are about.
Right, and I will say he is falling a bit into the buckets that we experience sometimes with now these teenagers slash like college age Survivor players, right? Thinking that, okay, I can come in, I can do this, I can excel. We've talked about this before with people like Dwight and comparisons to a Swathi or a JD about how most of the time that doesn't end up working out, but you might not know. And I think Sami, with this particular tribe, might have some assets to not make him an immediate target early on.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Here is Sami.
Why are you here on Survivor?
I'm here on Survivor because I believe I have what it takes to push myself way past my limits. And I kind of want to show myself and I want to show everybody else back home that there's a lot more to me than we all think there is. You know, there's a lot more to ourselves than we think. And we just got to go out and kind of tap into that potential and just push ourselves as far as we can every day.
What's your history with watching Survivor?
I was like an on and off watcher of Survivor. I started watching live in San Juan del Sur because me and my friends all hated John Rocker. But then once John Rocker got voted off, we didn't watch it anymore. And then when the pandemic came around, I started watching again. I started watching Winners at War and just fell right into the trap of Survivor and started watching season by season, seeing the game evolve. And I was like, bro, I can do that. I want to go out there and I want to do that.
Grace. Okay, hold on. Let me just get this straight. Okay, so San Juan del Sur, 2014.
Yeah.
So him and his
Sami
friends are like,
what? Sami was what, like 11 years old?
Like are they Mets fans? Like, how did these like 11-year-olds have like such a hatred for John Rocker, who had his baseball career before they were even born? What, like hey, everybody, we're all watching this show. You know how we all hate John Rocker? Yeah, let's watch this show just to see it. And then he's out on the third episode. Like, all right, we're out. We're done.
Yeah.
Our work here is done.
Hey, Brad, ride your bike over here to my house. We're watching Survivor tonight. We're going to see that douchebag Rocker. Get it? So odd. I mean, I guess, does this speak towards like Sami's household? Perhaps he grew up in a Mets fan household, or like,
where is he from?
He's from Vegas.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe that's some sort of like personal run-in with John Rocker.
Did he run into him on that 7 train that John Rocker was talking about?
I could see John Rocker spending a lot of time in Vegas. So maybe like John Rocker came and was like throwing baseballs at like a bunch of kids in Vegas.
Yeah, here you go. But yeah, it is. Listen,
can you handle this one, kids?
I know that people complain.
Old man Rocker, we hate you. We hope you lose on Survivor.
I hope one day you play Survivor, a show I've never heard of because I'm only 9 years old. But I'll watch you and
You'll lose.
And I'll beat you one day in this game. It's so interesting because people, you know, really put the idea of celebrity casting, stunt casting, etc., etc. But like, for what it's worth, sometimes it gets people to hate watch 3 episodes of Survivor because they heard that the antipathy, their mortal enemy, John Rocker, is going to be on the show.
Okay, back to Sami.
And here I am. Look at that's the thing. Put my mind to something, it's gonna happen. But there's a job ahead of me. I gotta go do the job.
Give me one Survivor winner and one non-winner who you identify with the most.
I would say a Survivor winner that I identify with the most would be, I honestly, this is going to be controversial, but a guy like Chris Underwood, because, people debate about the game that he played. He didn't have to play the game for very long. But, the thing with Chris is like, he went into the game and he used what was in the game to his advantage, and people still talk down on his win. I think that's something that happens with me a lot. I think if I do something good or if I do something that people don't think I'm capable of, they'll be like, oh, well, Sami, this and this and this. And, like, you wouldn't have done it if this happened. And so I kind of resonate with him in that way that, I think that my success kind of dwindles. Like, people kind of try to rain on my success sometimes. And that's the same thing that they did with him. A non-winner that I identify with would be somebody like, I've always said David Wright, because David had a lot of insecurities. He had a lot of things that he didn't really like about himself. And, I'm kind of the same way. I think I sound like a really confident and, happy guy, and I am. But there's a lot of things I don't like about myself. There's a lot of things that I, want to better myself in. And guys like David, they were able to do that throughout the entirety of the show. It's the same thing I want to do.
Great.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I cannot wait for Sami to win this game and come out with his own line of Sami socks in honor of his favorite winner, Chris Underwood.
No. Okay. All right. This is basically don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, the theme's not on trial. And good news, Sami, there are no themes this time around. The trial is not existing, but interesting for Sami. I think the David Wright comparison, listen, the Chris Underwood comparison is unexpected in many ways just because he's not typically mentioned in a positive light, but the David Wright comparison, again, really shows that Sami is trying to showcase how he's not exactly going to be this kind of like, shallow 19-year-old guy, that there's like a lot of insecurities and anxieties that he has within himself that he can sympathize in somebody like David, who may look completely different than him, yet he's still able to find a lot in common with.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to what Sami has to say.
What's your favorite moment in Survivor history?
My favorite moment in the history of Survivor would have to be when JT gives Russell Immunity Idol with the letter, handwritten letter. That like changed, I feel like, the entire course of, honestly, Survivor. It was really just devious gameplay by Russell, just mastermind. And, I think JT really was one of the first people, along with Eric, who gave the immunity necklace to Natalie for whatever reason. One of the first people to show you can really make the dumbest mistakes when you're not eating, sleeping, and all this stuff on the island. So that's my favorite moment all time, has to be when JT gives Russell him immunity idol and changes the game.
Grace. So calls Russell a mastermind. I do wonder if Sami might be coming in willing to, be a little bit more deceitful than a lot of the other players we've heard about coming into Survivor 43.
All right, I heard Sammy's talking about me. Wait, you're a guy? All right, never mind. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, I think that it's an interesting moment for him to reference, though. I think the way he vocalizes it was less so about like, look at what Russell was able to pull off. And he more so talked about it from the perspective of JT, of like, JT was so starved that he decided to do this. Though I do feel like it's a bit of a broad brushing. It's not his fault. It's on behalf of the entire community, right? That it's like, it wasn't only JT, it was kind of all the move from the heroes, this idea that like, if JT had his druthers and he just found the idol by himself, he would have kept it a secret. But they had this idea of that woman's alliance is looking pretty strong. And so it is a big moment. I don't know if it's the moment that changed Survivor. That's really interesting.
Mike, you're wrong. That was the greatest moment of all time.
I suppose so, Russell. It's getting you at least referenced in a Survivor chats, decades after the fact.
Sami, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, unlike your camera quality right now, you are in focus when it comes to Sami's interview.
It's hard to hold the thing up to the, I held it back here over my face.
what is worse, having the favorite moment be entirely Eric giving Natalie the necklace, or having it just being mentioned as an aside in reference to another moment?
Yeah. I mean, it's got to come up in every single interview. That's,
Eric gave Natalie the necklace. That was very much the tone that Sami had, right? Like, oh, yeah, of course. I mean, listen, Eric gave Natalie the necklace. We're all aware of this. This is a stated history fact at this point. It's like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We all know it by heart. But yeah, I mean, surprising that it gets talked about here. And to your point, it could be something where he's looking to be a little bit more tricksy. We talked about this with someone like James, right? Who like wants to make the fake advantages and make people feel like they have no vote when they actually do. I do think a lot of the gameplay that's being talked about from this tribe is a little bit more on the understated social maneuvering. Sami could be true to his sort of youthful naivete, come in here and be like, yeah, I'm going to have this tribe by the shoulders and guide them where I want them to go.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to Sami.
I have no words. Like, I have no words. Like, I wish I could go back in time and see that, like, live as a viewer. Because I didn't watch back then. But, man, I was shocked.
What's one life experience you feel has prepared you most for the game?
I think life experience that has prepared me the most for this game is, kind of that of being able to integrate myself into situations, like, such as my job. Like, people are at I always say people are at their lowest of lows when they lose, like, a pet. And so, being able to talk, to conversate and talk with people in these kind of negative and dark times, I think I've really been able to tap into people's emotions. And the other thing that I think is such an important thing to note is that I don't have a lot of life experience at 19 years old. It's not a lot of things that I've done in my life in comparison to some of the other people out here. But something that separates me from other young people, such as myself, are, I'm willing to learn. I know I don't have all the answers. I know that I'm not out here, the most, like, I haven't ever seen somebody dying on the floor or like ran into a burning building or any of that stuff. But, I'm going to be with people who might have before. And so I want to learn from those people and kind of take that. And that's what I've been able to do my whole life. That's actually helped me to get to this point, is learn.
Grace.
Yeah.
Sami says, okay, maybe I don't have as much experiences in life. I think that's reflected by his choice of life experiences that he has not underwent up to this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess if you've seen somebody dying on the floor.
But that's not even like running into a burning building, I can imagine, right? From like a firefighter perspective. Dying on the floor, I hope hospitals are not underfunded to that point where they can't even afford beds or anything.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people. I mean, Gabler, I'm sure, has seen some stuff in the operating room. I'm not sure how many other players have seen anybody die on the floor.
Is that going to be their first chat of like, oh, nice to meet you, dude? Yeah, how many people you see die on the floor? Talk to me about that. I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Back to Sam.
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about the pet cremator angle for a second because, I mean, listen, there's natural connections to Omer, right? Omer actually vocalized a very similar sentiment as an exotic animal vet, right? Of like, every animal, every patient that has to come in, I have to deal with them in a different way. And sometimes I have to give them the best news and give them the worst news. Sami does bring in a similar perspective, right? Of almost like Ellie is vocalizing. I have to deal with people on their worst day.
Yeah. So his job title, correct me if I'm wrong, is pet cremator, right?
That is correct.
Now, did they take some liberty with that? Because it's making it sound like, I'm dealing with people when, like it seems like he comes in like, everybody kind of knows the situation if your official title is cremator.
Right, but I would also say it's a bit of like a pet undertaker situation, right? Like he is dealing with people when they've already hit that low, as opposed to, again, perhaps if you're that person experiencing someone dying on the floor, you're having to deal with the heartbreak in that moment. He is now dealing with like a bit of the after effects of somebody coming in. I will also say, I'm imagining there's like a bit of some interpersonal tactics there as well. With no offense to Sami's career path, pet cremation is like modern day highway robbery, IMO.
Oh. Well, yeah.
I mean, people pay. Like, so my we lost my childhood dog. I want to say about like 6 or 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like to get her cremated and have like her paw print, in cement costs like hundreds upon hundreds
Yeah.
of dollars.
Yeah.
It is, listen, all the power to them for being able to do what they do with very morose situations, but like you pay through the nose for pet cremation.
My mom just had lost a dog, and go through the process, and then they get you also on the hey, do you want him to be cremated solo, or do you want him like in the with a bunch of other dogs?
Wait, what? Like mixed together?
Yeah.
Like Chex
Well,
Mix?
she did not want the ashes.
Okay.
Yeah. She's
So it's like essentially like, okay, do you want the dog delivered back to you, or can I just kind of like throw him on the pile with all the other dogs we have out in the back?
She said, okay, the pile is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the alternative is. I suppose, like, I guess you could do much like Jan Gentry, like bury the pet. Otherwise, yeah, just ashes to ashes. Throw them on with the other ones. I didn't even think about that option.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go back to Sammy.
What excites you the most about the new era of Survivor?
What excites me most about the new era of Survivor is like the uncertainty, for sure. Just you never know. You don't know what's coming. I don't know what's gonna be there on day one, or how it's gonna look on day 3. Even like we don't know what's gonna happen. I think the game became like almost stagnant. Everybody knew what to do. It was no longer really like a social battle of sorts. It was like a strategic. When we hit the beach, we need to do this and this and this. And if this guy does this, he's gone. If this girl does that, she's gone. Whatever it is. And so something like the new game that really excites me is we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's next in front of us, and we just got to adapt to it, or else we're gonna be swimming right on back home.
Grace.
Okay. So an interesting point, what Sammy says, I think a lot of people say that what they don't like about the new era is how it's so unpredictable. You have no idea what's going on. Sammy says that's actually what he likes about it. He feels like that Survivor was becoming like too rote in terms of how it was going to go. So an interesting observation. I'm sure that's something that the producers really liked hearing about the format.
One person likes it. We're keeping the hourglass.
But swim back home. I feel like that's not part of the show, right?
Maybe Sammy just didn't think necessarily about like what happens off camera. Of like, yeah, I'm assuming they just start getting the Pacific and just swim their way back to the United States, like Galadriel at the end of the first episode of The Rings of Power.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it a swim back to Ponderosa or swim to America?
I would assume the latter. If you're, again, an imaginative kid like Sammy, it's like, well, you just start paddling. Maybe a boat will pick you up on the way back. You could hitch a ride back to the States. Going back to what you said, I mean, what Sammy answered is essentially, looking back now on all 18 contestants, what everyone answered with what excites you most about the near era Survivor, which honestly surprises me, because you would imagine when you're cast on Survivor, you're almost always a type A personality. And so you would imagine the more control and the more constants they want in the game, the better, because that means those are more things that they are in control of. But it seems like nearly everybody, to your point, is saying, no, what I love most about it is the fact that everything's out of my control, that I don't know what's coming to me, which is a little bit more like thrill seeker than Survivor player. I mean, I'll admit I certainly sympathize with that. Coming from the world of improv, it excites me much more to like deal with the unknowns and juggle the things that get thrown my way, rather than like dealing with set, markers along my route. However, if I were playing a game for $1 million, I would want as many knowns as possible. So I think maybe this speaks towards more like the excitement and energy of the group than necessarily the, okay, I want to be a good player at this game, and so bring in as many known things into the game that I can know I can handle at any point in time. Okay.
All right. Let's hear what else Sammy has to say.
What do you think people will perceive you as?
I think that at first glance, you could perceive me to be a really kind of maybe self-centered and arrogant person, thanks in due part to my self-righteousness sometimes. I love my eyes. I love my smile, my pearly whites. I love my hair. I love my quad. I love all this stuff, right? But I think when you talk to me, you can find out really quickly. There's a lot more to me than just the wall that might be put up just by my genetics and great looks. I really care about people. So I would hope that by the end of this entire game, people can perceive me as, one of the more likable kids that they've ever met, because that's all I am in their eyes, probably as a kid. But I got to prove that I'm a lot more than that.
Grace. So Sammy stops Survivor San Juan del Sur in episode 3 and is like, I got it. This Drew Christie kid, he's winning it all. He's totally into himself, his great looks. And listen, I agree. I'm assuming he won this season. I'm going to go out and play like him.
Yeah. Mike, do you have a sense of, it's hard to tell from just this picture, but like in terms of like Sammy, is he like really tall? Is he a big guy?
He is a bigger guy. I think there is a shirtless pic of him out there from a press perspective, not just in general, that shows he is like very physically fit. He does put in his bio's favorite hobbies are sports, fitness, and journaling. I don't know if he's involved in any like professional background, but this is a guy that I imagine that is also young as well. Like his metabolism is very quick. So again, when I mentioned before about Owen and the meat shield, I do think that Sammy is like the young, cocky, athletic guy of the season.
Yeah. He describes himself as self-righteous.
Yeah.
And then talked about how because he loves his eyes and hair and looks.
He also, I think for a second, he did almost say, I love my quads, but then he stopped himself, which fair, but also I'm still going to question the choice of like Family Feud, top 5 things you love about yourself, your eyes, your smile, your quads.
Okay. All right. Let's hear what else Sammy has to say.
What type of player are you looking for in an alliance?
Honestly, for an alliance, I'm really just looking for somebody that is willing to give their all to me like I am to them. Because in this game, it's really hard to come across really like loyalty and respect for everybody else. That's something that I just carry with me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And so, somebody that's willing to give me their all, like I'm willing to give to them, that's somebody I want to take to the end. Also, it will help if they're funny. It will help if they're cool. I like being around good people, right? If I have to drag somebody along that's like a really, they don't want to be there and they hate the sand and they hate the fish and everything sucks and everything, I don't want to be around that all the time. So it would be nice if I could get a positive person that's willing to give me everything like I am to them.
How eager will you be to look for advantages in the game?
I think that advantages in this game are like more important now than ever. It's such a freaking slippery slope though, because you can't go out and look on your own or else you're hosed, right? You're done for. Like I said, we're swimming back. We're done. So I think the eagerness is going to come from my position in the game. If it's apparent that people aren't talking to me and I'm not getting the what's happening at Tribal, you best believe my butt's going to be out there knee deep in the water, knee deep in the dirt, whatever it is, looking for advantages. I'll be up high, 10 feet high, 10 feet down below. I'll look everywhere if I have to. I want to stay alive in this game as long as I possibly can.
Okay. Sammy is going to be a character for sure in the game. Mike, what else did Sammy talk about in his bio?
Yeah, so 3 words to describe him. Unpredictable.
Yep.
Tenacious.
Okay.
Indecisive.
Yeah,
that's a bit of a red flag there, Sam boy. Unpredictable and indecisive, I feel like Chef Jeff would say, is a recipe for disaster. So we'll see. Pet peeves, excuses, laziness, being woken up before noon on weekends.
Okay, well, that's not going to play on Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, I think that well, it might though, because considering that some people wake up at like the ass crack of dawn.
Well, I thought you were going to say that some people say that weekends don't even count on Survivor.
I mean, that's true. It depends on how many days are in the week. Could be a 26-day week, but we could have a similar like James from China situation, right? Where like if he's not getting his ass out of bed, people might have to bang the drums and wake him up in order to get him to rise and shine. Sammy is such a wild card. He is going to come out of the gate hot, in my opinion. He says that he runs off of pure adrenaline. He says in his 1-minute video, I'm burning fat just talking right now. I was surprised with his advantages answer from that perspective, right? That he's like, I'm going to cool off until I know that I'm on the outs, and then I'm going to be in the air, in the sea, on a train with a skirt, all the Dr. Seussisms that you want to throw in there. So I'm glad that he's showing some restraint there. I have worry about him showing restraint in any other capacity in this game.
Yeah, I feel like that he is somebody who certainly can be an asset to his tribe in a lot of ways, in terms of helping them win challenges. But I feel like that this is not a profile that I think is really geared for long-term success in the game. Nothing against, young people who come in and play the game, but I think that the successful path for young people to this point has been, okay, I am going to be sort of like deferential to the older players in the game and sort of like, okay, and then at the right time, either make a move or sort of like end up, being more likable than some of the older players that you ran with during the game. But Sami comes in, and I feel like that he's going to have his own unique ideas about how to potentially do things. And I don't know necessarily if the older players in the tribe are going to look to Sami as a leader. And I think Sami feels like, hey, why not me? I know, I know plenty of things about the game. Like, why isn't my voice being as respected as the other members of the tribe? And I feel like that's going to create some friction. So I don't feel like that it's going to necessarily work well for Sami.
Now, I do see a path. You talk about being deferential to the older players. Sami has acknowledged that, right? He said, I want to come across as the likable kid. I'm there to learn. I would imagine him talking with somebody, especially like Gabler, and be like, okay, I'm here to learn from you. Much like we saw with Mike and Jonathan, I could see Gabler being like, yeah, I see a little bit of myself in Sami, right? The kind of like cocksure 19-year-old, doesn't really know a lot about the world. Let me take him under my wing, in a manner of speaking, my tattoo-filled wing. And so if Sami does get in good, I could see a path for him. But either way, no matter how far he gets, I see an end for him where he like almost has trips over his own feet, right? Where he like gets caught scheming out in the wild, out openly, and pays because of it, where he ends up swimming back home, whether it be third boot or third place. I still think there are capacities for him to like be multi-dimensional. I think he showed a lot of that over the course of this interview, that again, he's not just the quads and the smiles and whatever, that he is able to like have those insecurities to open up about it. If he leans into that early on, I think that combined with his challenge prowess, assumingly, will help him get into a good position. To your point, if he falls too quickly, I know we're talking about an Owen night, but a Zayn night, if you will, in trying to play too quick, make too many alliances, feel like he has to really hit the ground running, he's going to end up tripping over himself and falling face first into a torch snuffer.
Okay. Well, I want to start to bring some of the other players into it. I do feel like that Owen is going to be an important person for Sami. Owen, who works in college admissions, works with, 19-year-olds who might be, coming in with a lot of personality. I think that he might have the skill set to be able to channel Sami. I don't know if for Owen, if that's the person that he wants to attach himself with, but he is looking for somebody to be a meat shield. I wonder if that he could maybe ground Sami a little bit more in this game.
Yeah, another connection I could possibly see is also with Mariah, right? Sami does this thing of like, I want people, if they're funny, if they're cool, I don't want a Bradley out there who's complaining all the time. And Mariah, again, is really talking about her ebullience, her colorfulness, her ability to just constantly bring joy. And so if Sami's looking for positivity, he's got the freaking sun right there in terms of brightness on his tribe.
Okay. All right. Mike, anything else on Sami?
No, Sami, again, is going to be just a really interesting wild card, in my opinion, both with his job choice, the way he composes himself. Like you said, I mean, listen, Liana and Xander did a good job representing the college-age people in 41. Did not go so well for 42. I'm pretty sure, the youngest person on the 42 merge tribe was Tori at 23, but Sami is really saying he's going to be the youngest winner in Survivor history, and we know what happens with manifesting.
Okay.